Yes.
Cool. Okay, first question. Can you tell us about your illness?
I have frontotemporal dementia. It's affecting the frontal lobes of my brain. A lot of people think that Alzheimer's is dementia as such, where in actual fact dementia, if you think of it like a push bike wheel with 100 spokes, dementia is the rim. One spoke is Alzheimer's, another spoke is frontotemporal dementia, another spoke is Parkinson's. So the thing is that people, when they hear that, oh look, we're close to a cure for Alzheimer's, that's great for Alzheimer's, but you can't give medication for Alzheimer's to someone with frontotemporal dementia. As my specialist said, it's like pouring battery acid onto your dementia. So we've got over 100 dementias worldwide, and we have to, we've got to get a cure or definitely something very quickly to slow it down.
We've also written, maybe you could talk about how young onset of dementia is when you get this condition before the age of 65.
65. Yeah.
Yep.
What did you say? Talk about young onset dementia.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And what it is, across the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, when you're ready.
Okay. Young onset dementia in New Zealand, dementia is actually the third highest killer here in New Zealand. It's the second highest killer in Australia, it's the sixth highest in the USA, and it's actually the number one killer in the UK. Now, young onset dementia is dementia affecting your 20, 30, 40, 50-year-olds under the age of 65. Most young onset dementia people are affected by frontotemporal dementia or young onset Alzheimer's, and quite often someone may have more of one, a little bit of the other. So it's not uncommon to have someone with two, which I have. I'm probably about 80% frontotemporal dementia and about 20% young onset Alzheimer's. Now, we've got 29,000 people in Australia with young onset dementia. You have similar numbers here, and my specialist said to me, he said, Kel, he said, for every one person diagnosed with young onset dementia, there are 3 or 4 misdiagnosed as depression. So realistically, your 29,000 is more likely 75 or 100,000. But unfortunately, over the past 10 years, everything's just been pushed under the depression map. And you hear it all the time. People are getting misdiagnosed as depression because they're young.
So, what are you doing to raise awareness?
To raise awareness, what I'm doing is I'm riding the Harley the length and breadth of New Zealand, the length and breadth of Australia, the length and breadth of the USA, and the length and breadth of the UK. It's about raising awareness, talking to as many people as I can, and I simply won't stop, because we've got to get the awareness out there. There is a real stigma. The number of times that I ring people during the day, and because my voice might be slurring, they think that you've been drinking or that you are on drugs. So, young onset dementia is a very aggressive disease. It is a terminal disease, and average worldwide is 6 to 8 years. And when I was told that you've got to go away and get your affairs in order, there's no medication for it, I asked, I said, well, how do I die from dementia? And they explained to me that very aggressive in young people, 5 or 6 years, you'll be forgetting family and friends. And after that, your body forgets how to work your organs. You'll pass away from organ failure. So, we have to get the message out there and we have to, do the research.
That's great. So this illness could lead to you losing your license. What would that feel like?
Look, the illness with most young onset dementia does lead to a point where you can't hold your license. I currently get tested for my car and bike license every 12 months, but if they were to come up to me at this point and tell me that you can't drive anymore, we're taking your license off you, it'd be like ripping my heart out, because it's my independence. I've lost the ability to be able to work in my career. I'm losing the ability to be able to communicate quickly. I have a medical assistance dog that helps me sort of get through the days without having to have my wife or someone walking with me. But to take my license off me, you've ripped my heart out. But we've got to be realistic. I can't be a danger on the road.
What other changes to your lifestyle do you expect as your disease progresses?
As the disease progresses, I'm already getting a little bit unsteady when I walk. I'm not unsteady in the car or on the bike, but I've got to be quite careful sometimes when I walk. And the changes that we have to make now is we've got to sell the house and we've got to do something where we can have a wheelchair-friendly property. So, we're looking at buying a block of land and building a wheelchair-friendly property, because I don't want to go to an aged care facility, and my wife has said that she'll support me with staying home as long as possible. And to do that, you've got to have the house set up right, and you've got to have a builder that's going to listen to you too.
How prevalent is young onset dementia in New Zealand, Australia, UK, and the US? Sorry. How prevalent is this young onset dementia in New Zealand, Australia, UK, and the US?
Yep. Young onset dementia has a high prevalence in New Zealand, Australia, USA, and UK. People are unaware of it, and as I say, a lot of people are misdiagnosed with depression. And it's not until someone comes along and says, well, the medications aren't working, can we start to do some different scans? And that's where it was found with me, when they did a PET scan and a different type of MRI scan, and it does show up. But all I can say to anyone out there watching the project is that if you've got young people and they're getting treated for depression and it's been happening for a while, I'd suggest that you go to your doctor and ask them to do the tests for young onset dementia. Don't walk away from it and put your head in the sand. You're better off to get a correct diagnosis so that you can get the correct advice early that will help you live with the disease as best you can.
That's great. Did you mention that it's the third highest killer in New Zealand?
Yeah.
You did mention
But I
that?
can read it through that as well.
Yep. The second.
I'll read you all those.
Okay, that's great. So just when you're ready.
The dementia is the third highest killer here in New Zealand. It is the second highest killer in Australia. It's the sixth highest killer in USA, and it is already the number one killer in the UK. Now, in New Zealand, it is predicted to get to number one within the next 6 to 8 years. Now, 6 years is 72 months. We cannot wait for this to get to number one and then say, let's do something about it. 72 months is not long. And I'm over here trying to switch the spotlights on the disease and to get money raised to the New Zealand researchers. That's where we need the money to go to.
So how determined are you?
I will not stop until I draw my last breath. I don't want to see you, anyone on the project, any of the project's families. I don't want to see the New Zealanders that are watching this tonight. We don't want any more young onset dementia. So I will continue to ride the Harley as many countries around the world that I can do it, and raise the awareness and get big dollars to the researchers, because we're calling on an Anzac spirit here. In all the wars, Australia and New Zealand has stood shoulder to shoulder, and so has the US and the Brits come in and stood there with us. So we are calling on an Anzac spirit here across these four nations to say we can't let it go 72 months in New Zealand and become number one. And all the researchers talk to each other from each country. They don't make the same mistakes. If they make a mistake, they let the others know. So yes, we just can't keep talking about this.
That's great. Thank you. What is the solution you're proposing?
Look, the solution to this, I have people quite often say, oh, well, we've got to get the government to put more money into it. Look, the governments are struggling to run our countries as it is. You know, they're doing their best. They really are. It doesn't matter. New Zealand, Australia, US, doesn't matter. They're doing their best. What we need to do is we need to get the top 500 companies in New Zealand, 500 in Australia, US and UK. And the top 500 companies put 0.5 cent out of every dollar profit. They keep 99.5 cents. They put 0.5 cent out of each dollar profit. That's 0.5% of their gross profit into a medical research fund. And that money then is dispersed to the top 10 killers, of which dementia is one. We are doing it wrong in each country, right? We've got people approaching CEOs and they're getting big donations to cancer and heart and diabetes, right? Dementia's getting nothing. This is the third highest killer in your country, and it's just not getting it. I liken it to, if you've got 10 little birds in a nest and mum comes in every night and 2 or 3 birds push everyone out the way and they get fed, we know that 2 or 3 birds are going to be really strong and the other 7 or 8 are going to perish. That's what's happening. We need to get the CEOs to understand, let's put 0.5% of your profit into a medical research fund and let's have that dispersed to the top 10 killers. Now all the researchers across the top 10 killers will have more money than they can take a stick at. Please, can we do this right? We only need a couple of CEOs to step forward and say, yep, that's what we're going to do, and the others will come along. New Zealand, don't wait 72 months. Don't wait until you've got a 4-year-old here in New Zealand like they have in the UK. 4-year-old with young dementia. Last year, an 11-month-old baby in the USA with infant's Alzheimer's, not expected to live past 4 or 5. Think about that if that was your child, your grandchild, or your brother or sister's children. You would be doing the same as I am. You really would.
Great. Thank you. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Yes, I do. It's the number 3 killer. You are measured in life by what you do, not what you say you will do. We need to do it, not keep talking about it.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's really good.